You have big dreams. You see the life you want with crystal clarity. But when the alarm goes off, when the work begins, when no one is watching, you hesitate. You delay. You drift. Here's the truth: ambition without action is merely daydreaming. But what if I told you that laziness isn't your enemy? It's simply misdirected energy. Today, we're going to rewire that. Good evening. Tonight, I want to talk with you about a peculiar combination: ambition paired with laziness. Perhaps you know this contradiction intimately. You lie awake at night thinking about the business you'll start, the book you'll write, the person you'll become. But when morning comes, you hit the snooze button. You scroll instead of study. You watch instead of work. Let me tell you something important: you are not broken. You are not weak. You are simply operating with the wrong instructions. You see, most people misunderstand laziness entirely. They think it's a moral failing, a weakness of character. But that's not what it is at all. Laziness is nothing more than your mind conserving energy for what it believes truly matters. The problem is, your mind has been programmed by habit, by environment, by years of conditioning to believe that comfort matters most. But you are ambitious. That means somewhere inside you there's a part that knows you're meant for more. That part speaks to you in quiet moments. It shows you visions of what could be. And then, because you haven't learned how to bridge the gap between vision and action, you feel frustrated. You feel like a failure. You call yourself lazy. Here's what I've learned in studying successful people for more than 30 years. The difference between the person who achieves their ambitions and the person who merely dreams about them is not willpower. It's not talent. It's not even opportunity. The difference is this: successful people have learned to make the right actions automatic. Let me say that again, because it's the key to everything we're discussing tonight. Successful people have learned to make the right actions automatic. Think about it. When you brush your teeth, do you need motivation? When you pour your morning coffee, do you require an inspiring speech? Of course not. These actions are automatic. They're programmed into your daily routine. You do them without thinking, without struggle, without resistance. Now, what if you could make productive action just as automatic as brushing your teeth? You can. And here's how. First, you must get clear, absolutely clear, on what you want and why you want it. Not the vague, surface-level answer. The deep answer. The ambitious, lazy person fails because their ambition is fuzzy. They want success or wealth or freedom, but these are just words without definition. Write down exactly what you want. Describe it. Put a number on it. Give it a deadline. Make it real in your mind. Because here's the truth: your mind cannot get excited about vague dreams. It needs specific targets. A ship without a destination will drift with every current. But a ship with a clear harbor in mind will cut through storms to get there. Second, understand this principle. You cannot fight your nature, but you can redirect it. You're lazy. Go use that. The lazy person is always looking for the easier path, the shortcut, the most efficient route. Channel that. Don't try to become someone who works 16-hour days if that's not who you are. Instead, become someone who works 2 focused hours and accomplishes more than others do in 8. The lazy person's gift is efficiency. They don't want to waste time. So don't. Cut out everything that doesn't serve your clear purpose. The meetings that don't matter. The obligations that drain you. The distractions disguised as opportunities. Be ruthlessly selective about where your energy goes. Third, start so small that you cannot fail. This is where most ambitious people destroy themselves. They want to transform their entire life on Monday. They're going to wake up at 5 a.m., exercise for an hour, work on their business for 3 hours, read for an hour, and somehow become a completely different person overnight. And what happens? By Wednesday, they're back in bed until noon. Listen carefully. You don't need to change everything. You need to change one thing. Then make it automatic. Then add another. This is how you rewire a life. One circuit at a time, not all at once. If you want to write a book but you haven't written in years, don't commit to writing 2,000 words a day. Commit to writing 1 sentence. Every single day, 1 sentence. That's so small you can't say no. And once you've done it for 30 days, it becomes automatic. Then you expand it. If you want to build a business, but you spend your evenings watching television, don't vow to work 4 hours every night. Commit to 15 minutes. 15 minutes of focused work on your business before you allow yourself any leisure. Make it non-negotiable. Make it automatic. The ambitious lazy person must understand this: your life will not be transformed by one dramatic change. It will be transformed by a series of small, consistent actions that compound over time. Fourth, create external pressure. The lazy person avoids discomfort, so make inaction more uncomfortable than action. Tell someone what you're going to do. Put money on the line. Schedule appointments with yourself that you must keep. Build consequences for failure and rewards for consistency. I know a man who wanted to write but never did. So he made this simple rule: every day he didn't write, he had to donate $100 to a political cause he despised. Within 30 days, he had written more than in the previous 5 years combined, not because he found motivation, because he made laziness expensive. Fifth, and perhaps most important, stop waiting to feel like it. The ambitious lazy person is always waiting, waiting to feel inspired, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for clarity, waiting for energy. Let me tell you something that might change your life. Successful people do things before they feel like doing them. That's the whole secret. Inspiration is wonderful when it comes, but it's unreliable. Discipline is doing what needs to be done whether you feel like it or not. And discipline isn't some special quality reserved for special people. Discipline is simply choosing long-term satisfaction over short-term comfort again and again, until it becomes automatic. You have ambition. That means you have desire. You can see something better than what you have now. Most people don't even have that. They're content to drift through life accepting whatever comes. But you're not most people. You want more. Laziness is not a character flaw. It's a symptom of unclear purpose. You know the feeling, don't you? That heavy weight that settles on your chest when you look at yourself in the mirror. When you think about all the things you said you'd do, the business you'd start, the skills you'd learn, the person you'd become, and realize that weeks have passed, months have passed, perhaps even years have passed, and you're still standing in the same place. You start to wonder if something's wrong with you. You see other people taking action, moving forward, getting things done. They seem to have something you don't, some internal engine that drives them. And you have the ideas, you have the dreams, you even have the intelligence. But when it comes time to act, you freeze. You hesitate. You find yourself doing anything except the one thing you know you should be doing. And the worst part, you begin to believe that this is just who you are. That laziness is woven into your character like a stain you can't wash out. You've tried to change. You've made promises to yourself. You felt that surge of determination on Sunday night, only to find it evaporated by Tuesday morning. So you conclude that you're simply not built for success, that some people are doors and you're not one of them. Now, let me ask you to pause for a moment. Before you accept that verdict on yourself, before you close the case on your potential, consider this possibility. What if everything you've been told about laziness is wrong? You see, we've been conditioned to think of laziness as a moral failing. We use words like undisciplined, weak-willed, unmotivated. We treat it as though it's a defect in someone's character. But here's what I've discovered after decades of studying human behavior. That's not what's happening at all. Let me tell you about a pattern I've observed. Take two people, both intelligent, both capable, both ambitious. Give them each a task. To the first person, you say, go do something. To the second person, you say, go to the corner of 5th and Main, walk into the blue building, take the elevator to the 3rd floor, turn right, and deliver this envelope to Mr. Henderson in office 324. Which one moves faster? Which one takes immediate action? It's always the second person, always. Not because they're more disciplined or less lazy, but because they have clarity. They know exactly what to do, where to go, and why it matters. The first person, they'll hesitate. They'll sit down and think about it. They might get distracted. They might do something else entirely, not because they're lazy by nature, but because their mind has nothing concrete to grab onto. Vague instructions create vague action, or more often, no action at all. Now here's what this means for you when you call yourself lazy. What you're actually experiencing is a mind that doesn't have clear direction. Your ambition is real, I don't doubt that for a second. But ambition without clarity is like a powerful engine without a steering wheel. All that energy just spins in place. Think about the last time you took immediate action on something. Maybe someone called and needed your help with a specific problem. Maybe you had a deadline that was crystal clear. Maybe you saw an opportunity that had a definite beginning and end. In those moments, did you struggle with laziness? Probably not. You moved. You acted. Not because you suddenly became a different person, but because you had clarity about what needed to be done. The human mind is a goal-seeking mechanism. It's designed to solve problems and reach targets. But it can't seek what it can't see. When your goal is fuzzy, when you tell yourself you want to be successful, or get in shape, or start a business, your mind has nothing specific to move toward, so it defaults to what's familiar and comfortable. It conserves energy, and you interpret this as laziness. But it's not laziness. It's confusion disguised as inaction. Here's the liberating truth. You don't have a character defect. You have a clarity problem. And unlike character, which people believe is fixed, clarity is something you can create. Today, right now, this moment, when you get absolutely clear about what you want, not the vague dream but the specific target, when you define exactly what success looks like for you, when you know precisely what the next step is, something remarkable happens. That so-called laziness begins to dissolve. Not because you've suddenly developed willpower, but because your mind finally has something concrete to pursue. The ambitious lazy person is simply someone with a powerful engine and no clear destination. Give that person a map, a specific address, and a reason to get there, and watch what happens. The engine that's been idling will roar to life. You're not lazy. You've just been running on unclear instructions. And that, my friend, changes everything. The ambitious lazy person has power they've never learned to harness. There's a particular kind of frustration that eats at you from the inside. You lie in bed at night and your mind races with possibilities. You see yourself on that stage, in that office, living that life. The vision is so vivid, so real, that you can almost taste it. You absolutely know that you're capable of extraordinary things. And yet, when the alarm goes off in the morning, you silence it. When the opportunity appears, you watch it pass. When the moment comes to take action, you find yourself scrolling through your phone instead, watching other people live the life you dream about. And the question that haunts you is this: if I have all this potential, why can't I access it? What's broken inside me that keeps this power locked away? You've probably started to believe that maybe the vision was a lie. Maybe you've been fooling yourself all along. Maybe you're not actually capable of those things you dream about. Maybe the ambition itself is the cruel joke, showing you a destination you're not equipped to reach. But before you accept that conclusion, let me share something with you that might change how you see yourself entirely. There's a type of energy that most people never recognize for what it truly is. It's the energy of discontent, the energy of knowing that where you are is not where you're meant to be. Some people don't have this energy. They're perfectly content with whatever life hands them. They accept their circumstances without question. They drift through their days without ever feeling that pull toward something greater. But you have that pull, that restlessness, that voice that won't let you settle. And here's what's important to understand: that's not a curse. That's raw power waiting to be directed. You see, the ambitious lazy person is actually sitting on top of a reservoir of energy that most people don't possess. Think about it this way. When you care deeply about something, I mean truly care, when it matters to you in a way that reaches into your core, have you ever noticed how effortlessly you can focus? How naturally you take action? How the hours disappear while you're engaged with it? I've watched people who call themselves lazy work with incredible intensity when they're doing something that aligns with who they really are. I've seen them spend 12 hours straight on a project without noticing the time pass. I've watched them solve problems that would stop most people in their tracks. I've observed them display creativity, persistence, and brilliance that would rival anyone you'd call successful. So where does that energy come from? It was there all along. It's always been there. The difference is that in those moments, the connection was made. The energy found a channel. The power found a purpose that resonated with something deep inside them. Here's the revelation: you don't lack energy. You don't lack drive. You don't lack the capacity for sustained effort. What you lack is the alignment between your actions and your authentic purpose. You've been trying to force yourself to care about things that don't actually matter to you. You've been attempting to harness your power for pursuits that don't connect with who you really are. Think of it like electricity. Enormous power, but it's useless unless it has a complete circuit. It needs to flow from source to destination through the right pathway. Your ambition is the source, that's the voltage, the potential energy. But if you're trying to run that electricity through activities, goals, or pursuits that aren't truly yours, that someone else told you to want, or that you think you should want, then you've got no complete circuit. The power just dissipates into nothing. The ambitious, lazy person has been given a gift that most people don't receive. They've been given high voltage. They've been built with the capacity for significant achievement, but they've never been taught how to create the circuit. They've never learned to channel that power into pursuits that create a connection with their authentic self. And so they suffer. They feel the voltage running through them with nowhere to go. They sense the power but can't access it. They know they're capable of more but can't seem to mobilize themselves. And they conclude, incorrectly, that they're lazy. But you're not lazy. You're unchanneled. You're a power station without transmission lines. And the moment you discover what you're truly meant to do, not what others say you should do, not what sounds impressive, but what genuinely calls to something deep within you, that power will flow naturally, effortlessly, inevitably. The work ahead isn't about creating energy you don't have. It's about discovering the authentic purpose that allows the energy you already possess to finally have somewhere to go. You are not weak. You are not deficient. You are not broken. You are powerful beyond your current understanding. You've just been aiming that power at the wrong targets. And once you understand that, once you truly grasp that your so-called laziness is actually misaligned power, everything changes. Because the question is no longer, how do I stop being lazy? The question becomes, what am I really meant to do? And that, my friend, is a question worth answering. Success comes from programming your automatic behavior, not fighting it. You've been in this battle for so long now. Every morning, it's the same internal war. The alarm sounds and immediately the conflict begins. Part of you knows what you should do. Get up, start the day, work on your goals. But another part of you, a stronger part it seems, pulls you back toward comfort, toward just a few more minutes, toward the easier path. And you fight. You push yourself. You use every ounce of willpower you can muster to force yourself to do the right thing. Some days you win. Most days you lose. And with every loss, you feel yourself weakening. You feel your resolve crumbling. You start to wonder how long you can keep fighting yourself before you simply give up entirely. Because that's what this feels like, isn't it? A fight against yourself. A constant struggle between who you want to be and who you actually are. And you're exhausted. You're tired of the battle. You're tired of failing. You're tired of trying so hard and getting nowhere. And deep down, you're starting to suspect that maybe this is a fight you can never win. Now let me ask you something. When you got dressed this morning, did you have to fight yourself to put your clothes on? When you made your coffee, did you need to summon tremendous willpower to pour the water? When you brushed your teeth last night, did it require an internal battle? Of course not. These things happened automatically. You didn't think about them. You didn't struggle with them. You certainly didn't need motivation to do them. You just did them as naturally as breathing, because that's what you do. That's who you are. It's programmed into your daily routine. Here's what I want you to understand: that automatic part of you, the part that does things without thinking, without effort, without struggle, that part is far more powerful than your willpower could ever be. Willpower is like a muscle that gets tired. But automatic behavior, that runs on a different system entirely. It runs whether you're motivated or not, whether you're tired or energized, whether you feel like it or not. The successful person hasn't developed superhuman willpower. They haven't learned how to win the internal battle every single day. What they've done is something far more elegant and far more sustainable. They've programmed different automatic behaviors. Think about it this way. Your life right now is the sum total of your automatic behaviors, the things you do without thinking, the habits that run in the background. When you get home from work, you automatically do certain things. When you wake up, you follow a certain pattern. When stress hits, you respond in predictable ways. These aren't conscious choices you're making. They're programs running automatically. And here's the crucial insight: these programs were installed over time, through repetition, through conditioning, through the paths you traveled most frequently. You didn't wake up one day and decide to make them automatic. They became automatic because you did them over and over until your brain said, "Okay, I'll take over this task. You don't need to think about it anymore." Now, The question isn't whether you have automatic behaviors. You do. Everyone does. The question is, are your automatic behaviors taking you toward your goals or away from them? Most people who struggle with productivity have automatic behaviors that were installed randomly, or by default, or by whatever was easiest in the moment. They automatically check their phone when they're bored. They automatically turn on the television when they get home. They automatically hit snooze when the alarm goes off. None of these were conscious choices. They just became the path of least resistance. But here's the liberating truth. If behaviors can be programmed, they can be reprogrammed. You're not stuck with the automatic patterns you have now. You can install new ones, better ones. Ones that serve you instead of sabotaging you. The way you do this is surprisingly simple, though it requires patience. You choose a new behavior, something small, something manageable, and you repeat it in the same context at the same time until it becomes automatic. Usually this takes about 3 weeks for the behavior to feel easier, and about 3 months for it to feel completely natural. During those first 3 weeks, yes, you'll need some willpower, some discipline, some conscious effort, but you're not fighting forever. You're just fighting until the new program is installed. You're pushing the boulder uphill until it reaches the top, and then gravity takes over. Once the behavior becomes automatic, it requires no more effort than brushing your teeth. It just happens. You just do it. And then you can use whatever willpower you have to install the next behavior, and the next, building a life that runs automatically in the direction of your dreams. You don't need to be in a constant battle with yourself. You don't need superhuman discipline. You don't need to fight every single day for the rest of your life. You just need to understand that lasting change doesn't come from winning daily battles. It comes from changing what happens automatically. Stop fighting your nature. Start programming it. That's where real transformation lies. Small, consistent actions compound into extraordinary results. You look at where you are today, and then you look at where you want to be. And the distance between those 2 points feels impossible. Absolutely impossible. The person you want to become seems so far removed from the person you are right now that you can't even imagine the journey. It's not just a few steps. It's a complete transformation. So you tell yourself you'll start on Monday. You'll do everything. You'll overhaul your entire life. You'll become disciplined, focused, productive, a completely different person. And maybe you do start. Maybe Monday comes and you attack your goals with everything you have. You work for hours. You push yourself. You feel that rush of finally taking action. And then Tuesday comes, or Wednesday, or maybe you make it to the following Monday. But eventually, inevitably, you crash. You burn out. You realize you can't sustain this pace. You can't maintain this intensity. And so you stop. You go back to exactly where you were. And now you've added one more thing to your collection, another failed attempt. Another piece of evidence that you can't change. Another reason to believe that the gap between here and there is simply too wide to cross. But let me share something with you. Something that might seem too simple to be true, yet it's one of the most powerful principles of human achievement. Imagine I gave you a choice. I could give you $1 million right now, today, or I could give you 1 penny that doubles every day for 30 days. Which would you choose? Most people, if they're being honest, would take the $1 million. It's right there. It's tangible. It's certain. But here's what happens with that penny. On day 1, you have 1 cent. On day 5, you have 16 cents. On day 10, you have $5.12. By day 15, you're only at $164. And you're thinking, I should have taken the million. But then something remarkable happens. By day 20, you have over $5,000. By day 25, you have over $100,000. And on day 30, you have over $5 million. That penny, doubling consistently, quietly, without drama, becomes worth more than 5 times the $1 million you could have taken on day 1. This is the mathematics of compounding. And it doesn't just apply to money. It applies to everything you do, you see. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a day and underestimate what they can accomplish in a year. They want the $1 million right now. They want the dramatic transformation. They want to see massive results immediately. And when they don't get them, they quit. But success doesn't work that way. Success is built through the accumulation of small actions, repeated consistently, over time. It's the penny doubling. It's invisible at first. It feels insignificant, and that's exactly why most people abandon it. Let me give you a concrete example. Suppose you wanted to write a book, a full book, maybe 300 pages. That sounds enormous, doesn't it? Overwhelming. You might think, I don't have time to write a book. I'd need to dedicate months, maybe years to that. But what if you just wrote 1 page a day, just 1 page? That's perhaps 15 minutes of your time, not overwhelming at all. And in 1 year, you'd have 365 pages. That's not one book, that's more than a book. That's a book and some extra material. 1 page seems like nothing. It feels too small to matter. But compounded over a year, it becomes something substantial, something real. The same principle applies to anything you want to achieve. Want to get in shape? You don't need to spend 2 hours in the gym. Do 10 push-ups every morning, just 10. In a year, that's 3,650 push-ups. Your body will have changed dramatically from that simple, consistent action. Want to learn a new skill? Study for 15 minutes a day, not 2 hours. Not when you feel like it. 15 minutes every single day. In a year, that's 91 hours of focused learning. That's enough to become genuinely competent at almost anything. Want to build a business? Work on it for 30 minutes before you do anything else each morning. In a year, that's 182 hours of focused work on your business. That's a month of full-time work. That's enough to build something real. Here's what you need to understand: the small action doesn't feel like enough, because you're measuring it against where you want to be. But you're not trying to get there in 1 day. You're trying to get there in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years. And over that time frame, small actions compound into results that seem miraculous to people who don't understand the principle. The reason you keep failing isn't because you're not capable. It's because you're trying to sprint a marathon. You're burning yourself out with intensity when what you actually need is consistency. Stop trying to change everything at once. Stop trying to make the dramatic leap. Start with something so small it feels almost silly, and then do it every day. Not when you're motivated, not when it's convenient. Every single day. That's how you cross the impossible distance. Not in one heroic leap, but in tiny, consistent steps that compound over time into something extraordinary. You don't need more motivation. You need better systems. You've watched the videos. You've listened to the speeches. You've read the books that promise to ignite your inner fire. And for a moment, sometimes for a day, sometimes for a week, you feel it. That surge of energy. That absolute certainty that this time is different. This time you're really going to do it. You make the lists. You set the goals. You feel invincible. And then, slowly or suddenly, that feeling fades. The motivation that seemed so powerful, so real, just evaporates like morning mist. And you're left standing in the same place you started, only now you feel worse, because you've proven once again that even when you're motivated, you still can't follow through. So you go looking for more motivation. Another video, another book, another speaker who can give you that feeling again. And you start to wonder if maybe you're just someone who needs constant inspiration. Maybe you're the type of person who can only function when you're fired up. And since you can't stay fired up all the time, maybe you're just destined to live this cycle forever. Peaks of motivation followed by valleys of inaction. But let me ask you to consider something different for a moment. Think about your morning routine. However it goes for you, whether it's efficient or chaotic, I'm willing to bet you don't need a motivational speech to make your coffee. You don't need to watch an inspiring video before you take a shower. You don't require an emotional pump-up session to drive to work. You just do these things, they happen. Why? Because you have a system in place. Not a formal system that you designed carefully, but a system nonetheless. A sequence of actions that unfolds automatically based on environmental cues. When the alarm goes off, you get up. When you get up, you go to the bathroom. When you finish there, you head to the kitchen. One action triggers the next. No motivation required. Now here's the insight that changes everything. Successful people haven't figured out how to stay motivated all the time. They've figured out how to build systems that work regardless of how they feel. Let me tell you about two people. The first person decides they want to exercise regularly. They commit to it. They promise themselves they'll go to the gym whenever they feel motivated, whenever they have the energy. And some weeks, they go 4 times. Other weeks, they don't go at all. Over 6 months, their results are minimal because their effort has been inconsistent. The second person also wants to exercise regularly, but instead of relying on motivation, they build a system. They put their gym clothes next to their bed. They set their alarm 30 minutes earlier. They prepare their gym bag the night before. They schedule their workout at the same time every day. They remove every decision point, every place where motivation might be required. The first person has to decide every single day whether they feel like going to the gym. The second person doesn't decide. They simply follow the system. And over 6 months, while the first person has sporadic results, the second person has transformed their body and their health, not because they were more motivated, but because motivation was never part of the equation. You see, motivation is unreliable by its very nature. It's an emotion, and emotions fluctuate. Some days you feel inspired. Other days you feel tired, discouraged, or simply neutral. If your success depends on feeling a certain way, then your success will be as inconsistent as your feelings. But a system doesn't care how you feel. A system is a structure, a set of procedures, a series of steps that produces a result. You follow the system whether you're motivated or not, whether it's convenient or not, whether you feel like it or not. And because you follow it consistently, it produces results consistently. Here's what this means practically. Let's say you want to build a business, but you keep procrastinating. The motivation approach says you need to get inspired, get excited, get hungry for success. The system approach says something different. It says at 8 o'clock every morning, before you check email or social media, you sit at your desk and work on your business for 1 hour. That's the system. No decisions to make. No motivation required. 8 o'clock comes, you sit down, you work. Or perhaps you want to improve your skills. The motivation approach has you studying whenever you feel inspired, whenever you have time, whenever the mood strikes. The system approach says every evening at 7 o'clock you study for 30 minutes. You put it in your calendar. You remove distractions. You create an environment that makes the behavior automatic. The difference is profound. One approach leaves you at the mercy of your emotions. The other approach makes your emotions irrelevant. Now, I'm not saying motivation is worthless. Motivation is wonderful when it comes. It makes things easier. It makes things enjoyable. But if you build your life around motivation, you're building on sand. When the tide of emotion goes out, everything collapses. Build systems instead. Build structures that hold firm regardless of how you feel. Build processes that continue running whether you're excited or exhausted. Because here's the truth, you don't need to feel motivated to succeed. You just need to follow a system that works. And once you understand this, once you stop chasing motivation and start building systems, you'll discover something remarkable. Success becomes inevitable. Not because you've become a different person, but because you've created an environment where the right actions happen automatically, where results accumulate regardless of mood, where progress is the natural outcome of the structure you've built. You don't need more motivation. You never did. You just need systems that work when motivation doesn't. Because here's the final truth I want to leave you with. You already have everything you need. The ambition is there. The intelligence is there. The potential is there. All that's missing is the bridge between who you are and who you could be. And that bridge is built with small, consistent actions, repeated until they become automatic, until they become who you are. You don't need to become a different person. You just need to become the person your ambition has been trying to tell you that you already are. Right now, not tomorrow, not next week, right now, take out a piece of paper and write down one small action you will take tomorrow that moves you toward your ambition. One action. Make it so small you cannot fail. Then tomorrow, before you do anything else, do it. Don't negotiate with yourself. Don't wait for inspiration. Just do it. This is where your new life begins.